This is Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. And Something to Talk About is a regular online program we've been doing since the start of COVID. And occasionally we do it in person, but mostly we've been doing it online. And it's almost always 3 days a week. This week it's going to be 4. And we talk about a variety of subjects and topics. We are grateful for Fieldstone Memory Care, Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island, which offer innovative and compassionate care. They're a sponsor of this program. They are accepting residents, and they also offer day stay and respite programs. To learn more or schedule a tour, call 360-689-4314 to schedule a tour or talk to them about it. If you'd like to, I'd also like to acknowledge that the center is on the ancestral homeland of the Coast Salish people, the Suquamish tribe. And we honor and are grateful for the people of the clear salt water and their hospitality to our community. Today, we're going to talk about the 10-Minute Play Festival, which we have not had for a while. So we have a couple of folks here to talk about the again rebounding festival. Steve Stolee, who's been involved from the start, and Maria Viera Beatty, a regular here participant in our conversations. And this year she is one of the playwrights. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, you're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Yes.
So let's start maybe with you, Steve, since as I said, you've been here from the get-go of the 10-Minute Play Festival. Tell us a little bit about its origins and its goals and objectives.
Well, maybe I could start with a brief description of Island Theater. We started about 25 years ago as an alternative to the more mainstream theater because there was a lot of kids stuff and a lot of family stuff, but there wasn't much for mature audiences and participants. So we started Island Theater to accomplish that. And in 2012, somebody had the great idea to start a 10-minute play festival. It's not a new idea. There are 10-minute play festivals all across the country. I didn't know it at the time, but I've since come to realize that. And so this is our 9th iteration of the play festival. This would have been the 11th if we hadn't had to go through 2 years of pandemic. So this was the brainchild of Sarah Scribner, who was on our board at the time, a writer. And we've just moved on from there. Every year we make a little bit of a change and try to improve the formula, and it's gotten better every year, and we get better material every time we send out a call for submissions, and it's all local. It's a showcase of local talent. So all the plays come from Kitsap Island, or Kitsap County. All of the actors and directors come from the area, so it's very much a community-spirited event.
So has that been the case from the get-go, that it's been local solicited plays?
Yes, Reed, it has, because that's how we decided we wanted it to be. And that, you realize right away, opening the doors to more submissions changes the quality and temperament of the thing. There are lots of ways of doing this, and 10-minute play festivals all over the country have different parameters that they follow. So we chose this one, and it's worked out pretty well for us, so we probably won't be changing that.
That's great. Maria, you are one of the playwrights.
Yes, I am. I just wanted to back up Steve's idea. The one 2 years ago had a play by Dan Rosenberg, and it was about auditioning for the ferry, the voiceover on the ferry. So it was fabulous, but it was very, very local. You'd have to know the whole ferry thing for it to make sense. So yes, but I'm new to this. I've only been on Bainbridge 4 years. And I didn't know anything about this. And so I got here and I submitted a play, and thinking we were talking amateur theater here, and it got in, and I thought this was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And I went to it. I couldn't believe it. The level of the acting and the directing, I'm going like, where am I? What's going on here? I just couldn't believe the level of the performances and the professionalism of the show, because I thought it was going to be kind of a, down home kind of, sort of, I was surprised. So yes, I'm lucky enough I got in again this year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So when you look for folks to participate, directors and actors, you find there's a lot of talent here, eh, Steve?
It comes and goes. I mean, the level of participation, well, I haven't figured out the science of it. This year we had over 40 actors auditioning for parts, so that's as many as we've ever had wanting to participate. We've had as many as 75 submissions for plays, and that kind of goes up and down every year. It's a little different. This year, the year that we took our selections from this time, which was actually 2 years ago because of the pandemic, again, I think there was about 50 submissions. So it varies. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. There's a lot of variety. I know that there are a lot of theatrical organizations, and I know that on occasion we have at the Senior Center had a pretty active readers theater. Our biggest challenge is finding somebody who has the interest in organizing and directing. But I don't know if that's true for Island Theater as well. We're pretty low key here at the center.
There are a pool of talented theatrical practitioners in the area that we pick from, and we meet new ones every year. Maria says she's only been here 4 years. It seems like longer, but she's made quite an impression on everybody here. So, and they come out of the woodwork, and people learn things. This is one of the hallmarks of Island Theaters that we've chosen to try to provide opportunities for people to learn things and advance themselves as theater practitioners.
So
we have people who have never directed before who get a chance to direct a 10-minute play, and they learn something about directing.
Yeah, that sounds like a chunk that you can bite off. It's not quite as challenging to get installed or get engaged, and you can kind of figure out what you can do in 10 minutes. Although that's also you don't have a lot of time to play around.
Well, that's true. It's deceiving. You think that because it's only 10 minutes long, it's a lot easier. And there are some things that are easier. There's fewer lines to memorize, so it's less of a workload for the actors. But there are just as many things theatrically that go into a 10-minute play as into an hour-and-a-half play. Believe it or not.
I believe it. I can't remember. I mean, whether I'm quoting Mark Twain accurately, but it's like I can write you 1,000 words, right now, but it's going to take me 2 weeks to get to 250. So, Maria, when you're writing a play, what do you think about how you try to condense the action or get it done in 10 minutes? Is that easier or harder?
Well, I'm kind of new to playwriting because my background is in film. And this 10-minute format's fabulous. I had no idea. And like Steve said, all over the country, there's festivals for it. I don't know where the 10-minute format came from, but I think it's great. I mean, the variety, you have a little idea, and it's amazing how much you can do, and it's amazing how different it can be. I'll give you an example. My play in this one is kind of a cross between Waiting for Godot meets Laurel and Hardy. And then Jeff Brown, his play, it's the only other one I've read, is very lyrical and poetic. It's about the breakup of a marriage. So you just have, within this 10-minute play festival, you have this incredible variety, which, if you go into seeing a full-length play, you're in like the style of realism or the dysfunctional family doing it for, an hour and a half. And this is just, it's really an interesting format. Steve, I don't know where it came from, the 10-minute format came from, or when it started, but I think it's a great format.
I can only speculate. Who knows? But it starts with short works. There's always been short works, one-act plays. And a one-act play can be anywhere from 10 minutes to a half an hour long. So I think you start with short works, and people keep thinking of ways to get people to participate, submit their plays, join in a festival of some kind, generate an audience, so forth. That just keeps people innovating. I did some research on all the 10-minute plays across the country, and I found one that was a 1-minute play festival.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
And I've seen scripts for a 1-minute play, and it's really fascinating. It's essentially a single page. The one that I looked at was a monologue about a guy who was falling from a window in a tall building, and these were the last thoughts he had on the way down.
All right. Suitable for TikTok, which is a series of 1-minute plays. Steve, the festival is coming up. It's over a few days, 18th to the 20th. Describe how and where and how easy it is to get tickets.
It's pretty easy to get tickets. You go online to www.islandtheater.org. You can also find it at BPA's website. They have a ticket link there. We're reserving seats, so it makes it easy for you to get a seat, know that you have a seat. It's not general admission. You won't have to stand in line. And there'll be plenty of parking for everybody. The location is the temporary quarters of BPA. We have always, doing the 10-Minute Play Festival, rented from our big sister organization, Bainbridge Performing Arts. And since their theater is closed right now for renovations, they're temporarily housed over at the Bainbridge Pavilion Cinema. That's cinema number 3. And so go online, get your tickets. The festival is 4 performances over 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings at 7:30, and a matinee on Saturday at 3 p.m. What
Great.
else can I tell you?
Well, we heard a couple of the examples of some of the plays that we might hear, the lyrical demise of a marriage, and Laurel and Hardy waiting for Godot. So what are some of the other topics?
We have a pretty even mix of comedy and drama, and some sort of in between that sort of bridge the gap between the two. We have Murder of Crows by Lee Lawing, which is a gift of art from a friend brings affectionate gratitude into conflict with aesthetic tastes. And Best Case Scenario is by Dan Rosenberg, who Maria mentioned earlier. I wrote, what if the results of your creative writing caused a visitation by an agent from the future? Hijab is a special play that was written by Catherine Rush. We were unable to produce it when she first submitted it a couple of years ago. I'm happy to say we're bringing it to the stage now. This is a story about an immigrant couple struggling with fitting their cherished culture into their bold new lives in a confusing new country. And Losing Tucker is a comedy by Paul Lewis. There seems to be some confusion about the whereabouts of a beloved pet. Comedy ensues. I won't talk about Maria's play, she's already done it. Nakarima's Revenge is by Henry Bacon. A contented couple has an unexpected caller, leading to a surreal and satiric rumination on the cultural divide in America, a little political satire. The Winner by Laurie Londigan is a trio of young associates endeavor to use their theater skills to launch their careers with an edgy writing contest that will attract and inspire wounded misfits like themselves. And finally, Vesper by Miranda Ray is a pair of co-workers at a technical enterprise discussing a kind of apocalyptic couples therapy as a possible solution to an existential dilemma. So you can see they're all over the place. If you don't like the play you just watched, you only have to wait a few seconds to see a completely different one.
Excellent.
When do we get to see yours, Maria?
Oh, well, it's all 10. I mean, you've got it. All
see
10
all
are
10.
every night. Yeah, all 10 are together. There's 5 in intermission and then 5 more. So mine's on the whole time.
Rita has a question.
I was just wondering if any high school students, or if you reach out to the high school when you do this, what the participation is. I just thought that would be interesting.
Well, we have some very talented high school kids, and we have no restrictions or special provisions for younger playwrights or actors per se, but we almost always get some submissions, and we got one that's in the works this year called The End by Olivia Vicenis. This is the one about two youths attempting to define and align their mutual perceptions of their emerging relationship, or if there is a relationship. So Olivia is a graduating senior, maybe just graduated, I think. And the two actors in it are both in high school.
Francis.
First of all, thank you for being here. I'm just so delighted that it's coming back. It was such a good event, and I can't imagine the variety of talent that you've been able to tune into. First question is, how are the plays chosen? Is there a judge, a panel of judges? Are playwrights themselves excluded from judging? Are they blind entries? I mean, do the judges know who wrote them until after they've chosen?
Nobody knows who wrote them because our submissions analyst takes everything, all identity out of the plays. We have a panel of judges who are theater professionals. They are either actors or playwrights or administrators of some kind who know a lot about plays and can process them quickly. So they read all the plays and then make recommendations. And from that, we select our 10. That's the board of directors.
Second question I had is there any concern about copyrights? Or I know years and years and years ago, I was in Little Theater, and one of the issues that came up in we did a one-act play festival, getting the copyrights, the permissions to perform and all that. But I assume that some of these are first-time performances.
That's correct, yes. About half, not all. We have no restriction on plays that have been performed otherwise. And that opens the door for a little bit more quality, a little bit more diversity. So that seems like a good fit. We're always concerned about copyright because that's intellectual properties question that we're not going to step away from. But in this case, everybody cedes over their copyright to us, or licensing. We have permission to perform their plays, in other words. We have on occasion, the first year that we were unable to perform live because of the pandemic, we did a streaming of several of the plays that have been from earlier performances, 10 to be exact. And we got permission from all of the playwrights to do that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Will you be requiring masks and
yes, please. Yeah, the way things are going, yeah, we're masking up and asking for vaccinations. It's the library protocol has changed a little bit, but we're following BPA's protocol, so everybody that comes to the audience, to be in the audience, will be required to wear a mask. So you can feel safe.
Okay, that's good to know.
Thanks for that question too. I'd forgotten.
Yes, well, it's lurking behind every conversation these days.
And it's a moving target constantly, so.
Yep, you'll probably get some COVID plays coming up in the next year or two.
I hope not.
I look forward to that.
That's a big issue I'm in a couple of playwriting groups, and that's a big issue. What do we do with COVID? Because nobody wants to write about it. I mean, we all started in the beginning writing COVID monologues and things like that. BPA did a whole thing of COVID monologues, but now it's like, do we really have to write about it? How do we account for it? So playwrights are trying to figure it out. I'm going straight for science fiction, I think. I'm just going to bypass the whole thing, but it's an interesting question. What?
It reminds me of when we were all concerned with 9/11 and terrorism and the destruction of the Twin Towers. everybody wanted to write about it, and then all of a sudden it's like everybody had had enough.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I've already
Yeah.
had it.
You've already had enough. Francis?
Maria, you mentioned that your most of your writing is concentrated in film prior to the 10-minute play festival. What type of films did you write for? You mentioned science fiction just a minute ago. Was that it?
No, it's just that my background was in film. I had a BA in theater, but then I left it like so many people went into film. So my professional career was in film, documentaries, made TV commercials, things like that. But then when I retired and came here, I had written and directed 2 plays in 30 years in film. But when I came here, I was done with film. I just wanted to get back into theater. So, and Island Theater just turned out to be this fabulous organization. I was really surprised. So I'm not doing anything. Well, one of the groups at Barn, we did do a play, the Park Bench plays, and we tried filming it. And I did have a play in LA on Zoom that Steve directed. I called Steve and said, help. I got into this festival at the Alliance of Los Angeles Playwrights, and Steve pulled together actors and did it, and it was all on Zoom. But we do want to get back to live theater. The Zoom thing's kind of worn. It's okay. I'm tired of this of seeing work on Zoom myself. So
It's such a bizarre restriction on what we're used to, certainly from performing live, but even performing on film and creating film. The Zoom structure is very peculiar, and it's really hard to step into it and make it yours. I have no doubt that given enough time, people would become very creative with this. And I've even seen, the things that we did, Maria, watching other people's take on that was really interesting. And I thought there was quite a bit of diversity on how they approached the subject or the technique.
yeah.
Didn't you?
Well, yes, but it's kind of, film is film and live theater is live theater, and they both have their tremendous things. And if you're going to film it, then you get into all kinds of what style of film, and is it going to have a documentary look and all that kind of thing. And it takes away from what theater really does. So it's very tricky. And film is also very tricky because there's such access now to equipment. Everybody's making a film. You've got TikTok and all, and there's just so much material out there, and I'm going like, where's the great shots? Where's the beautiful films? And it's all, kids are having a good time, but everybody does their own soundtracks. You don't have these beautiful soundtracks that were done. And it's, it's a democratization, which is good. But on the other hand, yeah, it gets a little boring. There's so much material out there to see.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit like what Steve was saying of having the limitations of this particular medium, trying to use Zoom, where there's only so much you can do. It's also got this sort of live action component, but it doesn't have the kind of depth of field that theater does, or even that film does. Francis, did you have a comment?
Yes, and regarding Zoom, the big issue for me as someone who's hearing impaired is the captioning is ridiculous. And, even not considering all the issues you brought up, the difference between film and live theater, words are the essence of the play. And if they're not there, or they're ridiculously inaccurate, there's not even any sense in watching. I love Zoom, and I attend most of my Rotary meetings and other committee meetings on Zoom. I can't even imagine what it must be like to watch a play on Zoom with the inaccuracy that occurs with the transcript.
Well, I think it's that, but it's also that you miss the interaction between the characters. That's just gone. People have tried to have a character reach, and then the other one comes this way and things like that. But, theater is so much about the relationship of the actors and what's happening between them. And that's just not there on Zoom.
Well, we don't have to wait. We don't have to do that this year. We'll be able to see it in person.
That's
Yes.
right.
Thank you very much, both of you, for coming and talking to us, and look forward to this year's plays.
And I look forward to seeing you all there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Reed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reed.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to be here.